Welcome to Come On You Spurs TV, where we talk about everything Spurs. Today we are talking about the preseason tour, and of course we're also talking about Spurs and Ange. Will Ange bring trophies to Tottenham? Will he come bearing gifts? Join us on the other side, and we'll talk about this. In the meantime, come on, you Spurs. Welcome back. This is Come On You Spurs TV. Like I said, where we talk about everything Spurs. I want to start by saying a big thank you to all the fans who subscribed, who commented, who shared, who liked. Please continue to do so. Share with your friends, colleagues, and people in your network. We truly appreciate your support. Yes, thank you so much. Right, today we are going to be talking about Spurs. The preseason tour will leave tonight. We're recording this on Friday, the 14th of July. So yes, the preseason squad was just literally announced a few minutes ago. We'll go over that in the course of this program, and then we'll talk about this. Even though it's a recorded program, but yeah, we'll get a chance to discuss that. With me today, I have Chuma, who's arrived. Right, I've got somebody else who will join us down the line. But yes, let's just start with Chuma first. Chuma, how are you?
Oh, I'm super fabulously blessed. The phrase you're looking for is beware of Greeks bearing gifts. But for Tottenham, we flip it round. We're welcoming a Greek Australian bearing trophies.
Absolutely. Yes. So yes, we welcome Ange again. Yes, welcome to the club. But yes, we are also going out on the preseason tour. Now, Chuma, let's just sort of if just a quick look at that squad, and if a bit of significant news. What's that news? Tell us. Just tell us about.
Well. Firstly, as everybody knows, Tottenham haven't gotten any new centre backs. I think let's get that out. Let's get that elephant out of the room first. Everyone's expecting Tottenham to have signed at least one centre back to add to our list, but instead we're going with the centre backs that are already in the squad, that were in the squad last year, and the ones who were on loan that have come back as well. But then it's actually the exclusions that are, I think, probably is what you're alluding to. So everyone else we know that's in the squad's in the squad. But I'll read out the list of those that are not flying out to Perth with the team. Rodrigo Bentancur, Fraser Forster, Brian Hill, Troy Parrott, and Ryan Sessegnon. They are all injured. Hugo Lloris is also amongst the list of people who are not going. And the reason given is he has been granted special permission not to travel in order to explore prospective transfer opportunities. So that means there's probably a deal on ground for Hugo Lloris to make its exit from Tottenham after more than 10 years with Tottenham.
Interesting, right? So that's well, it's not totally unexpected in a sense, because if you think about it, I mean, everyone's since arrival of Mr. Vicario that he's possibly going to be the new Tottenham number one, and possibly Foster going back to his number two deputizing role. So yes, I mean, it's not a total surprise that Hugo Lloris had indicated his interest to leave. But significantly, when we think about, there's a lot of interest in Harry Kane, of course. Talks behind closed doors about, whether or not he's going to stay. And of course, Bayern making plenty of offers, and it's a lot going on. We really don't know what the truth of the situation is. What we know for sure is Tottenham haven't made any public declarations of their intent to sell. They've more or less said behind closed doors that they want to keep Kane, and there are rumors making the rounds that they've been offered a bumper contract, alongside a post-retirement role at the club. All of that as just at this stage is speculation. But more importantly, I mean, we're heading into the preseason. I mean, the first match is against West Ham on Tuesday in Perth, and it's 11 a.m. UK time. It's the expected kickoff, and we want to see, and we're anticipating, waiting feverishly for Ange's first game in charge. Well, we had a game in charge. He had a game behind closed doors against Cambridge. Do you know anything about that, Chuma?
Yeah, it ended 1-1, and by all accounts, it wasn't televised or anything. From reports that have come out of the game, it was mostly the under 21s and the development players. A lot more of them than any and then fringe players for Tottenham. Not necessarily any of the major players. I think for Tottenham, either some of the returning loanees or the ones who'd come back first from loans, and then the under 21s, and it was 1-1. So, but we don't really have any major details from the game. But it was more a fitness check than anything else. It's not something you read anything into. I think you start reading into things depending on how you are as a Spurs fan from the West Ham game, and I think it's mostly fitness. I think the first couple of games it's fitness and getting used to the formations. I think so with this Cambridge game, it was to work out, the young people who they'll probably take along. And you see some names as well. There's some names that have gone along. And there was one name that is missing, or two names that are missing in this list that I actually I'm kind of disappointed. But, I expected Alfie Dorrington and Maxime Pascozzi to make it to this to Perth,
Now,
because they're very good young centre backs.
yeah, a lot of people don't know who Dorrington is, and maybe for those who don't know, the Spurs under 18s, if I'm right,
Yeah, yes.
um,
It was
won
a standout.
the
Yeah.
we won the Premier League for their category last year, and Dorrington I think featured very prominently in that squad, and he was like the shining star in that squad. And knowing how Ange works, going by his precedent and what he's done in the past, I mean, he's been known to sort of develop young talents. So obviously, thinking is that he'll probably take a few under 21s with him, with view to sort of integrating them into the squad. But however, I mean, I think we do know that, I mean, the defense, in a sense, would require an upgrade, if you like, given that last season we considered the highest number of goals in the Premier League. I mean, for a top tier team. Now, however, I mean, there have been, of course, plenty of word in the press about people who are going for Van de Ven, we're going for Tatsoba, and a few other names were also sort of bandied about. The chap who plays Nelson, who plays in Turkey for Galatasaray, I think. Yeah. So yes, I mean, there's all of that going on in the background. So there's thinking that we would obviously sign a centre back, but clearly they haven't sort of signed anybody. I mean, before they went on preseason. So we'll see how that pans out. But yeah, I mean, so far we've had 4 signings so far, haven't we? And those signings, if you include Kulusevski, if you include Poro, if you include Mana Solomon, who also came on a free transfer. We have also Madison, who's also signed. So yes, there's quite a few signings in that so far, but we're still looking for a few more. So yeah, it's looking good. It's looking positive now. But from a forward-looking perspective, saying, where do we see Ange taking us? Will he take us to top 4? Will he take us to a trophy in terms of cup wins? Or will he get us the ultimate, which is either Premier League title or even Champions League title? What do you think? I know that this is one of those big.
Okay. Before we get it, I'll say this first about the squad. So I think a lot of Spurs fans, especially ones online, especially on Twitter, uh, they're very disappointed at the fact that the club, in their opinion, is not acting like a big club and hasn't gotten any centre backs. But I always look at things like glass half full. And I pointed this out in one of my comments I made on Twitter to someone, which was, I remember 2014. Like, there's a lot of recency bias amongst fans. They always seem to forget the past and they just jump in and think things just started yesterday. In 2014, when Mauricio Pochettino took over, when he came from Southampton, the club, the fans were on the cases of Danny Rose, Kyle Walker, and to a lesser extent, Jan Vertonghen as well. They felt that Jan Vertonghen, Tim Sherwood had alluded to the fact that he felt he was a fancy defender. He wasn't strong enough. He wasn't good enough. Danny Rose was getting pilloried by the fan base. Kyle Walker as well was making mistakes, liking him to a clown, things like this. People forget that this was what was going on when Pochettino came. And it was a case of, oh, is Pochettino going to clear out everyone? But that preseason of the 2014-2015 season, I remember it clearly like it was yesterday. He took everyone with him and he introduced his system, his style, his way of passing, his movement. And what happened was he was able to ascertain who could get into that system, who could more or less inculcate the thing into their being, identify with it more or less. And then once they could identify with his system, and the ones who couldn't, he knew who he had to get rid of. And it only took a matter of time, and he kept doing that. And then that season went, and then next season we got better and better. So I look at this season and I look at it as this is a very good point for Ange Postecoglu to assess what he has on ground, because there might be players that we think, oh my God, this guy is completely useless. But Ange is looking and going, oh, he does this very well. This can go with my method. You know, I'm looking at people like Joe Rodon and the rest of them. I expected them to leave as well. I'm like all the other fans. However, what if this man can unearth something? What if the same thing we thought about Danny Rose, Kyle Walker, Vertonghen, some other players in the team? What if this guy can see something or can bring out something from them and change? So that's that. I think this is a great opportunity. I don't look at it as a bad thing. I always look at everything as a blessing. It's a blessing for him to find out who can do what can they do for me, and maybe change. This is a change my mind scenario. Regards Ange and his possibilities as a coach in terms of what Spurs will win, I go back to his quote. He says, I do not put any limits on the achievements of my players or my squad, which means he doesn't say we're going to win the League Cup, we're going to make top six, we're going to make top four. No, there are no limits, which makes him a very dangerous coach, in my opinion, because he's looking to get the best out of everything. Now, we ourselves can make those kind of judgments or speculate in that way, but I think with him, I don't think there's a limit. I don't think if he can get top four, he'll get top four. If he can get top three, top three. If he can get this, he's just going to go for, I think his mission is to play every game the best way he can. And that for me, as a Spurs fan, is all I ask.
And that is very interesting. So, I mean, as a Spurs fan, you want a manager who sort of sets no limits on the ability of the team to achieve, right? And if you have a manager who sort of believes that this, well, there are no limits, it means that potentially they can achieve winning everything in quotes, right? However, I mean, us as in quote mere mortals, if you like to limit ourselves and say, we can't do this and all that sort of thing. So I love that in many ways, because it sort of gives you that comfort to know that your manager has absolute confidence in not just the players that is with him, but also in his own ability to sort of say to them, look, we have the ability to do what we are capable of doing. So that sort of, it's this confidence thing, right? It's amazing what it does to individuals, to players, and mindset. And as I mean, if you're a very good mindset person, you understand that everything starts with your thoughts, right? If you think you can do it, chances are that you will do it. If you think you can't do it, chances are you won't. So if you come with an attitude that, look, we are capable of achieving anything that we want to achieve, trust me, that is a very, very good thing to look out for. Now, I've listened to Ange's first interview that he did in the press, and boy, I was impressed is an understatement. And the reason I said that is this, right? So a few things came out for me. Now, Ange came out as somebody who is an amazing communicator, right? I didn't need to be a part of the team to be able to sort of see how he communicated his vision about what he wants to achieve to the players, right? And also how he came across and saying that, look, guys, we have a job to do, right? And if you believe yourself enough to do it, you can achieve it. And without necessarily saying that, look, we have to rely on one player or that person. So, and he kind of, without mentioning being negative as well, he kind of alluded to the Kane situation by suggesting that, look, whether Kane is here or not, we will do great stuff. We can do what we need to achieve. You know, we're a team. We're not relying on one player. At the same time, we value our talents. Can you see that balance? So
Yeah,
I really love that. You know.
yeah, yeah. He's highly. I think the word is he's emotion. He's emotionally intelligent,
That's
and
what. Yes.
he doesn't say more than he needs to say. He doesn't say any less. He just makes points that make sense to the individual listening to him. He's not raising your hopes, he's not reducing them, but he's telling you that I will do my very best to, there's that word that came out with Nuno, I will make you proud. But Nuno couldn't deliver on that for myriad of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But with Ange Postecoglu, I don't know how it is. I've been reading so many things about from people. Like, I'm on Twitter all the time, Spurs Twitter, and you're seeing people, they actually believe what this guy is saying. And if the squad, in fact, there's a very funny clip I think that's doing the rounds where um, Harry Kane comes into the gym area, and you've got two of the youngsters, Alfie Devine and another young guy. I don't know what his name is, and they're on the exercise bikes. And Harry Kane says hello to them, but he doesn't say hello. There's a thing that they say. Harry Kane asks them, "Is this coach good?" And the boys go, "Yeah, he is." Like dude, that and these are boys that possibly trained with Conte and the rest. They say, "Look, this guy is the way the boys are like, yeah." The guys. And I'm watching the body language in training, and it's not saying it's anything new, or it's like, of course we've always seen clips from even when Jose Mourinho was there and Antonio Conte was there as well. But I don't know. I'm seeing stuff. I saw this little move in Ndombele did where he kind of rolled the ball and chipped it over a guy's foot and then continued. I was like, that's interesting. And it's interesting in a sense because, for me, I'm like, this guy is actually buying it. It's training. It's not a game. I know. So many fans will come out and say, but I just watched it. And something else I wrote about before about Ange Postecoglou is his style of taking training is very interesting to me. It's really, really interesting because the last time I saw something like this was Sir Alex Ferguson, and Fergie had this thing where Fergie had very good coaches. So it got to the point Fergie didn't have to be on the training pitch all the time. Manchester United fans, anyone's viewing in that want to correct me, please do. Um, your feedback is always welcome. But he started delegating it to his coaches. That's why a lot of Fergie coaches still got employed. And of course, he had what's the Portuguese gentleman's name again? That later became Real Madrid coach and then came back. He was running a lot of the training sessions. So if you watch the Tottenham training sessions, you've got Ryan Mason, Matt Wells, and you've got Chris Davies. Chris Davies used to be Brendan Rodgers' assistant, and he's a very, very smart guy, really smart guy tactically. And so he's prepared sessions, giving it to these guys to run these sessions for him, and he's watching and observing. He'll talk when he needs to talk and tweak, but he's just like, it's like a general who has captains and majors that are under him, and he knows that they are capable, and he's just watching. All he's doing is tweaking the battle plans here and there, and it's been a very interesting watch, and I'm really looking forward to that first game against West Ham, even just as a spectacle. I'm not looking for a result or anything. Great if you get a result. It's always good to beat West Ham if you're a Spurs fan, but regardless of what the result is, I just want to see the display, and that's it for me.
Yeah, I think you're after Carlos Queiroz, aren't you? Is that who you're after?
Carlos Queiroz, thank you. See, Carlos Queiroz,
Uh,
that's him. Yeah, Carlos Queiroz was the one doing a lot of the. He was doing a lot of the field work, while Alex Ferguson was either in his office or he would just come round and But come match day, he's mapped out the tactics. And you're seeing the exact same thing with Ange Postecoglu. He's just staying back. You're just watching him, arms behind his back, like like a dad watching his kids play play football in the park, something like that. And it's interesting to watch. It's just a very interesting take on football.
Right. So a lot of fans who who saw Tottenham last season, and I mean, if you follow Tottenham, you would know that in my all the years I've followed Tottenham, right, and I've followed Tottenham for quite a few years. I don't want to say how long because I would give it away. Yeah. Listen, I've never experienced as much toxicity as we experienced last season. This is the first time in the history of my experience of being a Tottenham fan, uh, it's just been negative, negative, negative. It's just been unbelievable. And I'm hoping very much that this season would be a shift from all that negativity. I have, I mean, everyone called me Optimus, Optimus Primus because of my positive attitude to things, right? However, I actually think, talking of Spurs' chances this season in terms of being able to um, finish in top four or lift the trophy. Now, where do you stand? Where would you sort of? I mean, okay, early days. I mean, we're going to do another. I mean, obviously, a session down the line of where you think Spurs will finish next season. So let's take a punt now. It's early days now, but where do you think Spurs will finish next season?
I mean, if things stand the way they do right now,
So let me just say this, right? So
yeah,
bear in mind a few things, right? So City are where they are, right? Chelsea have got Pochettino. Liverpool didn't have a great season last season. They're trying to sort of rebuild again from all of the wreck of last season. Man United again did not too bad with Ten Hag in charge. Newcastle seemed to be on the rise, so they came top four last season. I mean, a lot of what you might call fringe teams, if you like, also in the mix. We've got Brighton, we've got Brentford, teams that you wouldn't have given a lot of what you might call hope to, And I mean, again, Arsenal have spent what spending 200 million on two players or three players, So I mean, that's a big statement of intent. You think where do you think we stand next season? So yes, there's all of that to give us a bit of context, if you like.
yeah. So for me, I go. Um, there's this thing my uncle and I always used to talk about whenever there's a World Cup or Euros, especially the World Cup. My uncle always said there are these countries that it's in their DNA or their identity to succeed or to do very well, and they are France, Brazil, Argentina, Germany, Italy. And once you have these countries, the one or two or three of them will always make it to the quarters or the semis. And as soon as they get there, they get the job done. And so I look at Tottenham and I look at the teams that have, I would call them like generational managers or level five managers. And I could almost vote Arteta into that as well. So I look at Arsenal, I look at Manchester United, I look at Liverpool, and I look at Man City. Newcastle, I'm not going to vote Eddie Howe there. They did very, very well. They've added to their squad. I don't know if it's a better addition or worse. Sandro Tonali is a good player. I like him. But I don't know how he will cope playing in midfield in Newcastle against all these guys. Liverpool are on a rebuild, midfield wise as well. Fabinho might be leaving and they might have to bring in a new DM. They have a couple of central midfield players they've just gotten now. They have to come in and acclimatize to playing for club, and club system is different from what they played in their clubs. So there's not much to say in terms of the teams who are settled. Manchester City and Arsenal, to me, those two are quite settled. They have a particular way they play, and they're only just going to continue. So I look at position three. to position 6. And anybody who is serious or has a very good start to the season or maintains or becomes very consistent in winning can get between 3 and 6. So that's where I would look to see, based on how Ange Postecoglu, if he gets his centre backs, if his style of football is implemented and it can start before Christmas, if he can get better at Christmas, because there are going to be some very, very hard lessons learned, because it's not easy to switch from being very reactive and counter attacking to just being fluid front foot. There will be teething problems, and you're looking at November, December as a point where things will start becoming more automatic. You saw the same with Brighton as well. Even when they got Roberto De Zerbi, it took about 4 or 5 games, which are over 2 months or so, before they really started implementing his methods, and then became automatic with it. By January, February, they were on it hard. So I look at this the same way. So in saying that, I would love to see Spurs between 3 and 6 if it works. If it doesn't, still top 8, no problem. They're top 8, but because of the fact we're not in Europe this season, I see no reason why the club and the manager will not take the cup competitions very seriously. And he's a man who, I think, he likes cup competitions himself. He's won quite a few, Scotland, and then even when he was in Asia as well. So I think, cup wise, I think Spurs could be aiming for a cup, top 8, top 6, top 3 to 6, 3 to 6 cups. That's what I would say.
Interesting. I mean, so we have this I don't want to call it a conundrum. I want to call it a bit more of a I'm looking at the glass half full like you, if you like. So, and that means for me, it means we have a coach a manager who sets no limits for the team in terms of what they can potentially achieve, right? Mm-hmm. It then tells me a few things, because if you think about it, you mentioned something at the top of the program, which was the fact that some coaches are very, very good at being able to transform players from what you might call, what people like to say, dross, if you like, into high performers. I don't like to use those sort of words to describe our players, because, I mean, for me, they are players. And, I mean, I'm very much in favor of what you might call positive speech, if you like, So, yeah, I wouldn't sort of use those sort of expressions to describe our team members. However, there are players who haven't done so great, I mean, in the past. But if you look back to this season just gone past, season before that, where Conte took us from wherever we were to Champions League places. And the expectation, if you like, was that this same team that we have now, right, will have kicked on from there, but however, if I just sort of did what I call a bit of a recalibration and just let's just look back at things a little bit, right? This is the same team that had Bentancur, who was fit, had Richarlison, Kulusevski was firing on all cylinders, Son and Kane firing on all cylinders. Now, it came this season, Bentancur became injured, Kulusevski was injured, Son's form kind of dipped a little bit, so all of that just seemed to sort of affected the ability of the team to sort of kick on from there. Now, we have what I call the new manager bounce. We have all of the same personnel, if you like, and with a few additions to that. Now, a lot of people have always said in terms of the way we play and what we needed in terms of saying going forward, there was this criticism that saying that, look, we don't have that attacking midfielder in our team that could sort of be like a game changer. Now, could Madison be that guy for us? If it's, if it works, or could that be a revival of Ndombele, or could we have a midfield of riches, if you like, in Lo Celso, Ndembele, Madison, Bentancur, and all of those people, Hoiberg, and all of that, right? I.e., we could potentially have what I call those big guns, if you like, being able to not just play as a first team, but also have the depth in the squad to change games when things don't go so well. Added to the fact that we're not playing in Europe, it means that we have just the league and cup to focus on, unlike those other teams in and around us in the top 6, now top 7, if you like, if you add Newcastle to the mix, right? So for me, I mean, I'm positive. I'm very upright in terms of the fact that I think we can make a big difference in our league position this year. Not just league position, but also the fact that we can potentially win something in terms of a cup. And I'm not ruling anything out or in. That's me, I
mean, no, you know what's interesting is while you were talking and saying this, the two teams that came to mind were two teams that actually Spurs in our peak Pochettino days, we ended up being runners up to. Leicester had no European competition. They had just gotten Claudio Ranieri.
Right.
And what happened to them? They just played and they did well and they won the league. The next year, Chelsea had no European football and they had Antonio Conte. And it was a bedding in process for his system at that time. And then they lost to Arsenal and then he switched it back to, and then history was made. He just went on a run, but he had no cup competitions as well. The next year when he did, they struggled. So there's some credence to what you're saying in the sense that I look at it that you're saying Madison and all these guys. One of the things I've always insisted upon is I don't think and this is a very unpopular opinion, and some of the subscribers will probably come on here and say things against, but I don't think that Tottenham's defenders were the absolute worst in the world. What happened for me, my opinion has always been, if you're always defending, if the opposition are always on top of you, you're going to make mistakes. And Tottenham are always always in a position where the game starts off and they have the ball. Tottenham didn't have the ball. And then we would now be moving backwards, and then trying to counter. There's only so many times you could do that. And I mean, I think when the rumors were on that Davinson Sanchez was going to move on and stuff like that, you started seeing people bringing out all these tribute videos on Twitter. And you saw Davinson Sanchez in his first season or first 2 seasons, he wasn't that bad. But he wasn't bad because he was playing for a team that had possession most of the time, where his job was sweep up and give it. Sweep up, give it. But then you have a team, exactly. You have a team now where by the time it got to Mourinho, it got to Nuno, Conte, they were on top of him and his mistakes. In fact, it started in Pochettino's time as well. Pochettino started countering himself a bit towards the end. So it made him have to think too much. And it's not trying to disrespect Davinson Sanchez, but saying when he has too much time on the ball is a problem. But in a world where Davinson Sanchez can collect the ball and give it to someone more skilled, that's all he has to do is collect and give. I think he does, and you're probably going to see that in this preseason. You might just see Davinson Sanchez play very well and you're wondering, where did this guy come? But it's not because of that. It's because of what's happening ahead of him, where these guys are mopping up, they are pressing. So by the time he's just collecting to mop up after them and just give it back to them to continue another attack, when you're always attacking, I watched a lot of these teams that finished above us last year, and I'm watching them thinking, I can't see players that are like miles. Okay, barring City, okay, Arsenal have 1 or 2 guys, but I'm looking at the Newcastles, I'm looking at the Brightons, I'm looking at the Villas, and I'm like, our defenders are as good. They're not outstanding, but we're as good. But why? Because these guys were competing in midfield to get that ball, and their defenders were just having to defend and give it back. There wasn't too much time, and that was the difference.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, so if you're watching this, wherever you're watching this from, would love to hear from you as to your thoughts as to what we're seeing. I mean, I think we'll do great this season. Chuma shares my perspective.
Yeah, I do. I do. Yeah,
I'd love to hear from you wherever you're watching this from. And yeah, I mean, it's great having Ange in charge. We're looking forward to great things coming next season, and we very much hopefully want to come back this same time next season and look back at trophy wins, Hurricane staying, and all these negative rumors about or negative speak about. Yeah, he's got to go and win some trophy somewhere. Probably had a couple of trophies in the bag. And who knows if we want to do like a repeat of the Leicester or the Chelsea, this is the prime time to do that, and yeah, long may that continue. Before we head out, I just want to have final words from Chuma. Chuma,
yeah.
final
I'm,
words.
I'm looking forward to the tour. I'm also looking forward to seeing how a lot of Australian fans react. I think we're going to create a lot of Australian Tottenham fans because from what I gather, our enemies down the road have a lot more of a fan base in Australia. But
Oh, seriously? I thought we
yeah,
had.
it's
We'll see.
huge. They have a huge one. So,
Right.
but now that we have one of their own with us, we're looking to welcome a lot of Australian brothers and sisters into the Spurs family, and we welcome that. But it's also to see Ange try to create something new and just like we just need a breath of fresh air in Tottenham. Tottenham fans don't ask for too much, but we just want to see our team play well, and by playing well, winning as well, playing well. Those two things are synonymous with a lot of the reasons why so many of us became Tottenham fans. And we just want to see that come back. And we believe that wherever we end up, we'll end up. But we just want to see Ange doing well. And like I said, the Greek Australian bearing trophies. We welcome that.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, Chuma. If you're watching us from anywhere, please subscribe, leave your comments, share, and like. And we look forward to you on the other side. In the meantime, come on, you Spurs.
Spurs.